School, Miss Shravya Nalla, Director of Presidency High School, Nizamabad. Then Shri Sai Pramod Bathana, Co-founder and Director of Alokit Education Leadership Private Limited.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Nice to see all the educators, leaders here. Since morning, it has been a great learning experience for all of us. We have been sharing a lot of things. Before we came here, we were told our time was from 3 to 4, and our concept is future education. We already went into the past. And we may have to take some time of future of Mrs. Sita Murthy's panel. We were told to complete within half an hour. We said we would definitely do that. We would definitely do that, provided you all cooperate with us. Okay. This is what teachers request the children to do in the classes. Okay, nice. So welcome back to this thing. And I have three eminent speakers on the panel. So I think they wanted to introduce themselves. That was a precondition. They wanted to introduce themselves, so I'll just pass it on.
Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Padmavati Tungadurte from Fusion International School. Nothing much eminent, we are introduced as eminent speakers. Eminence I think is yet to be, I feel.
Hi everyone, I'm Shravya. I'm just a learner, so I'm excited to be here on this panel.
Hello everyone, I'm Sai Pramod, the founder of a non-profit Alokit. So we've been working with empowering the students from marginalized communities. So that's my passion, and I'm looking forward to the talk.
So thank you so much. Welcome all the three of you. So today's concept is futuristic education. How can we talk about future when we are not certain what we are doing now in the present? If you believe me or not, most of us adults, not only teachers, we think about the past and worry about future in the present. What we don't do is what we have to do in the present. If you all agree, most of the times it happens that way. And you lose the beauty of your life, my life, everyone's life. And the child loses his beauty of life. Because the child is never on hands in the school. When the child is not with himself, with his own soul, body, mind, and heart, the child can't be in the book. The child can't be in the school. The child can't be anywhere because he's not with himself. I hope we are all with ourselves today in this room. Okay, thank you. To think of future is very difficult, especially in the context of education. But we as leaders definitely have a role to play. So we thought we would put it into two slots, that is two phases. One phase is, before we go into futuristic education, we just would like to reflect on what are the contemporary present practices that are not in tune with the quality, that are in tune with the quality. So before we actually start, my request to all the leaders is, let us focus on what is good, what is possible, what is achievable, what is doable, rather than what is not possible, what is not achievable. Because the language that we speak about tells a lot about your school, about your teachers, about yourself, about your leadership. That's the most important thing. And that language, the communication that you communicate is more important thing. So before we go into futuristic education, we have prepared a few questions to deliberate. Now, I just would like to go to Shravya. When I met her today, there was a lot of energy in her. She said she wants to explore herself. Such a beautiful, nobody wants to explore herself. People want to explore the world. whereas she wants to explore herself. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And I think she is living that. That's a very nice thing to say. So I just want to come to you. Shravya, the children go to school, but they are not in the school. They are physically in the school, but they are not in the school. They're in the school. But schools say that we are successful schools. Thousands of students. इतना बसेस है हमारे पास, इतना बढ़िया रिजल्ट्स है, मगर बंदा जो बच्चा है वो खुशी नहीं है. Now it is multi-language, NEP. आप हिंदी में बात करना, तेलुगुలో కూడా చెప్పాలి, ఇంగ్లీష్లో కూడా చెప్పాలి. That's what NEP says. So you please tell me, Shravya, and tell all the audience, why children are not in the school when they are in the school?
Thank you, sir. I want to start with an experience I had about 8 years ago. I was living in Mumbai at that time, and I went to a salon. There was a girl who was working at the salon. Her name was Shama. And she looked very young and, she was very petite as a person. I asked her, Shama, did you go to school? She said, हाँ दीदी पढ़ाई किया था. कितने तक किया है? And then she said, until 10th तक. उसके बाद क्या हुआ है? Then she said a sentence which blew my mind, and this is what she said. मुझे पढ़ाई नहीं करना था, मुझे कुछ सीखना था. And then, the world perceives education and learning as two different things, and it is so evident. It's not just the students, it's the parents. And so what she said that day actually sort of changed my life in a way, because I was working in a corporate, and I come from a small town, Nizamabad. I grew up there. And when she said that, it made me question the choices I was making in life. So I decided to move back to Nizamabad and work at my mother's school to see how can we improve learner engagement and bridge the gap between learning and education. Children fundamentally, humans love to learn, right? And the way education system has been, it's sort of taken away the fun, the intuitiveness, and the joy out of it for many different reasons. It has done definitely good and bad. What we do at our school is to see, we've questioned because I don't come from an education background, it was easy for me to question literally everything. It started off with exploring why are assemblies done. When I sat and did the math on how many days a student spends time in assembly, it's 100 days in over 10 years. It's 100 days. Imagine, 100 days of not being engaged, because in the assembly, how many children talk and how many more listen, right? I think asking those questions helped us change a lot of small things where we were able to create opportunities where kids are more engaged. So we do something called a monthly challenge now, where the classes work together. They work with the class teacher, they make things, and it's a lot more fun. Another thing is, next I went to teachers, right? And I asked teachers, did you have fun today in the classroom? So some of them didn't. And the ones that had fun in that class, obviously the children learned more. And the ones that did not probably didn't even know that, oh, can I have fun in the classroom? So I think when teachers can have fun in the classroom, children will be present in the classroom. So that's sort of fundamentally tied there. Another thing is, times are changing so much. Corporates itself struggle to keep up with how to make sure the employees are, have relevant skills. So with schools and colleges, the feedback cycle is so long. There are going to be gaps in any education system, for the rest of humanity, I feel. It's only how do we address those challenges. And one primary thing I see is learning to learn. Right? So how does your brain learn? What happens in the brain before you learn? There's a little bit of friction, there's a little bit of tension, there's a little bit of confusion. Getting over that, being aware of that. I think when children know all of this, when adults know all of this, is when it is easy to address your emotional discomfort that happens in a classroom for many different reasons. So social emotional learning, I feel, is another way to keep a student engaged in a classroom. Social emotional learning, not just about interpersonal skills, but also learning, what happens when you're learning a particular concept. So those were the three things that I have to add. How do we improve learner engagement in every minute, right from this time a student is in the class till the time they leave? Two is, how do we make teaching more, a more it's meaningful already, but how do we make it fun for the teachers? And third is, how do we teach our children how to learn? Because if they learn to learn, then it's forever relevant, no matter how much the world changes.
It's fun. Thank you so much. Fun and engagement, not one class, for every child. Because a school means every child. School means not a class, not 1,000 children or 5,000 children, not 100 buses, please. School means every child, every teacher. Every teacher. That is how we need to count. So thank you so much for your contribution. Going from there, one Chinese proverb says, journey is a reward. Journey is a reward. Sai Pramod. So when you say journey is a reward, what kind of reward do you think of giving to children in the schools? Well, it should be a very rewarding experience for the child. So how do you visualize this? A rewarding experience for a child as long as he stays connected to the school or when he leaves the school. How do you, according to you, how do you make the journey of the child, journey of learning, very, very highly rewarding?
Awesome. That's a very interesting question. I think I need to put myself back into my school days to really think about it. So a couple of things that come to my mind as I reflect back about my own schooling days is, I think they're relevant even today. I think we need to provide the children to explore their own potential and faculties, something that I was not given back in school. I can quote some of the examples. I used to play very good cricket. So every Sunday, we used to play bet matches and stuff. I used to bowl very well, and I was an opening batsman. By the afternoon, I come back home, my father used to be ready with a stick. And then today he tells me, why are you not playing, why are you not sporting? I said, that was skill, long ago. Sundays was skill, I was not allowed to play because I need to score well in the exams and stuff. So obviously I did not get an opportunity to explore with my faculties. Today, if I'm looking fat, if I'm not doing exercise, it's because all that was skill long ago. I was penalized very heavily for that. Having said that, there is no excuse for me to reconstruct that. So the point I'm trying to bring is, I think we need to provide enough opportunity for the students to explore their own faculties. God has given us wonderful faculties, all 5 senses. I think that needs to come into play. And number 2, which quite often gets missed, is we need to provide opportunity for children to explore the world around them. I think to an extent we are providing that to explore the world around them, but also beyond. Thinking about the future, the world is so changing very fast in the interconnected, globalized world. I think we also need to enable children to look beyond their own immediate surroundings and think about global issues as well, and explore what is it that they can contribute to address those challenges also. I think there is space for children, and we need to, just like how Shravya was saying, that let the students construct their learning. We need to stop just educating children. We need to stop thinking that teachers are the only ones who can create knowledge for the students, but learners themselves can create that knowledge. And I think that's very, very important for students to discover that they can be.
So when that happens, sorry to interrupt you. Just want from all the 3 of you, how can we make schools thinking schools?
Absolutely.
Now there are following schools. Chairman will pinch principal, principal will pinch 10 teachers, they will pinch 100 children. This is how schools are run. So instead of that, how can we convert schools into thinking schools? Thinking at even a class 4, ministerial staff should think and tell the principal, sir, what you're doing is not right. What we are doing for the school is not right. Is that not a thinking school? But are our people given that right and freedom to think and explain to the person concerned to say that, sir, please change this policy and this particular thing has to be, this rule has to be changed. So how do we make schools very thinking schools? So we can start with madam and then we'll come to your question, madam.
That's a great point.
That is something like asking me, how do we change ourselves, isn't it? That's the first thing. When we have to change ourselves in the classroom, we have to talk about changing the classroom designing, changing the gallery walk of the a student, changing the field areas in perspective of pedagogy I'm talking. But the first thing is, how are we going to have from intangible assessments to tangible assessments? That means now we are thinking that the children are learning, but really are they learning? We got to put it, we must ask the children to put the assessment or the evidences on the paper for them to understand the concept, and we should be sure of it. Now we talk about Bloom's taxonomy. We talk about remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Remember, understand are not thinking. Apply, analyze, evaluate, create do come under thinking stage. We are supposed to start our curriculum right from thinking, that is going on to application. How are we going to apply our knowledge? Do we have any chief applying officer at our school so that he applies all the knowledge? Is there any critical pedagogy at school so that children think? And are they thinking critically and logically? What's the pedagogy system we have? We are supposed to have critical pedagogy. That's really a great subject because we got to understand the power structures. We got to understand how there is a hierarchy in our organizations, institutions. Are there any oppression? Where do they think? Children can't think a lesson on plants and animals because they are still small. We are only showing the superficial structures of plants and animals and telling them something, teaching them something, what is inside their body. Most of the learning is happening based on sound, whatever they are hearing. Because if a teacher pronounces a word wrong, the child carries the word continuously wrong until the child's end of learning or end of life. If I ask you to draw a house now on a piece of paper, I'm sure all of you will draw a dabba down and a triangle on top.
Why should all children draw similarly?
They will, sir.
Yeah.
They will draw because their PP teacher taught them like that.
No. Exactly.
Isn't it? It is not that we haven't shown them a live video of any house, or I've asked my students, do they live in such kind of houses? They don't. Then how come they are drawing? We have killed their thinking capability, and we have asked them to draw the same structure what the teacher has shown on the board. Now draw a cat. You draw one circle on top, second big circle with a tail down. That is what we are not. We haven't shown a video to this child if the cat is jumping around or if the cat is sitting down on the floor. We are not allowing the child to think. Now, how are we mapping our Maslow's need of hierarchy to the Bloom's taxonomy? We are talking every time about Bloom's taxonomy on a different vertical, and we are talking about Maslow's needs hierarchy on a different level. We have to map somewhere. The Bloom's taxonomy of learning can only happen with Maslow's need of hierarchy needs. Because if the child has a proper self-esteem, if the child is loved, then the question of remembering understanding starts to the child. Remembering understanding do not come under competency-based learning, but are we teaching reflective methods of learning to the child? Is the child reflecting as to why the child has got something wrong? I'm not talking about marks here. Marks is again a separate topic. We are not considering the marks at all here.
And madam, getting wrong is right in education.
Is which one?
Getting wrong is right in education.
Right, that's a right of the child. Exactly. The child should be able to understand, reflect on the answer after the child has written, and think. That's where the reflective learning, relearning, and upskill of the teacher comes into picture. If it is upskill, it has to be upskill only. We can't go downskill. And if we have a reskill, it is definitely going to be an upskill. Yeah. Because if they start thinking on these lines and map into map the critical pedagogy, or they create a logical pedagogy, if they create an evaluating pedagogy, then only the system will have thinking schools. They can't run schools without thinking, because tomorrow is just a hope for everybody. Tomorrow is a hope. If this runs this way, then what might happen tomorrow? This is what we are asking today in futuristic education. Did I answer your question, sir?
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So I think,
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
I look at this from a different lens, right? You're the leader of the school. If you give instructions, your teachers will give instructions to the students. But if you go and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about it, and you ask your teachers, what is your opinion on this? Then they start thinking, and they take that to the classrooms too. So there are times I made a lot of mistakes in the decisions I've taken. It does take a lot sometimes to go and say, I messed up because I didn't think through this, I missed these 4 or 5 points. And then, but when I do that repeatedly, the teachers learn that and they take that to the classroom. There's a lot of fear that has built over the centuries maybe with the authority, right? So that is one of the reasons why people don't think, because if I ask a question, maybe it is rude, maybe it's, it's not treated in the right way. So it is probably the school leadership has to model that at every level. So people, so we become thinking schools that way.
So take away thinking from the schools, kill the spirit of the school. If you want to kill the spirit of the school, life of the school, take away thinking from the school premises. Or if you want the schools to be alive, going into the future, then they should be thinking everywhere across the spectrum within the school. That cannot be. I think you wanted to say, I think you could have put a word.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that point when we were talking about how do we make it rewarding for the children. So the next point that I was talking is how do we enable the children to engage meaningfully in solving the problems around them and for themselves, right? Exactly, which is the point Madam was also talking. So we start giving instructions for people to do. That's actually killing the problem-solving ability. As Shravya was mentioning, why don't we ask the children, can you figure out solutions for this? I mean, when I was starting my teaching career, one of my managers said, don't treat the children as kids, treat them as adults. Second grade children, when I was teaching, I was so shocked. Can I consider them to be adults? So, but then she said, experiment. Give them flexibility, give them freedom to control their own class, give them freedom to design their own classroom norms and stuff. They really shocked me, and every time I stepped out of the classroom, there used to be wonderful engagement, constructive engagement in the classroom. Nobody used to complain about it. That really rattled me and my confidence that, okay, kids can be problem solvers. Kids can take agency and ownership to solve problems around them. So it's just that we need to enable them.
So coming to the, thank you, second part of it, our schools are there now. Schools will have to travel next 5 years, 10 years, where futuristic education will become a commonplace. Now today, as we brainstorm in this hall, I just want all the three of you to reflect. What could be the paradigm? What could be the school? What could the school look like in the next 10 years, with the children, with the teachers, and all that? So how do you visualize? How do you foresee? Because as Madam was telling, 7.5 years before that, you can't say about future. It just happens, rolls down, So anything that's plus will be called future. So you think of futuristic education. So what kind of changes, what kind of specific changes to our task, to our design of curriculum, to our planning of curriculum, to our transferability within the class? What can we think of in a nutshell, not in a very elaborative way? If we do this, this will definitely add to the futuristic scope of education. So if you can throw some light on that, all the three of you.
So when I think about futuristic education, what comes to mind is the technology and tools, right? Like AR, VR, and Zoom calls, and in general, I feel technology amplifies good things and amplifies bad things. So if we are talking about futuristic education, thinking that there will be some magic tool that will come and change the way children are engaged, I think that magic tool will first amplify all the problems. So I think the fundamentals have to first be fixed before we even go there. One is, how do we get children to feel self-motivated to learn, right? So there's this self-determination theory for humans, which say they need three things. One is competence, connectedness, and what is the third? No, I missed it, but it'll come back to me. So unless they have autonomy is the third one. Autonomy, having a sense of belonging, having that autonomy, and the third thing is having competence. Unless these three things don't come in line, they are not going to be motivated to learn. You basically keep pushing, the parents push, the school push, the child basically tries to get by without being engaged. So a school a school and parents, the school and the parents have to come together to provide that to children. And when I look into the future, a school's role is not limited to a child's education at all. I think educating the adults that are going to grow with the child is equally important, if not more, because children have other means to learn and grow in this age, but the adults are very set in their ways. So teachers and parents, and helping teachers and parents grow as people is super important for schools. And like Jyoti ma'am was saying, and I was very glad to hear about how teacher counseling, teacher emotional support is so important. There is so much that's happening in a teacher's life outside of school, and asking them to leave it at the gate is not going to work. For me, futuristic education is engaging children by providing them the autonomy, engaging and supporting the teachers, and getting the fundamentals right. Because tools will improve everything, but they will not change. This is what I believe in.
Exactly. Autonomy is something. Yes, ma'am. Autonomy. But we are scared of autonomy. 1 second, ma'am. We are scared of giving autonomy to people. Chairman doesn't want to give autonomy to principal. Because I was a teacher, I was headmaster. Madam knows, she's sitting there. Now I am a chairman. But I'll tell you a practical example. In a boardroom, Murthy Gar also is, in a boardroom, I am asked every question by the board members, directors. I give them ample scope. You question anything with right intent, not wrong intent. If the intent is wrong, sorry, I don't accept it. If your intent and even content could be wrong, but intent cannot be wrong. In a staff meeting, a teacher can ask any question to the principal or the management, but not that with ego, but to do something, some good to the kid, you ask any question, I'm ready. It should be like that only. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, therefore, we are heading towards futuristic education. That's what we were discussing in the pre-panel room, that we have to shift our thinking mind from pedagogy. That's for sure. From pedagogy, we are going to andragogy and heutagogy. It is not that chalo tomorrow onwards it is andragogy, and day after tomorrow onwards finish andragogy, now come on heutagogy. It's not going to be like that. Yeah, you have to top one thing on the other. Pedagogy will remain in the classroom. It is not that the pedagogy will disappear someday. After pedagogy, what? Then comes, some of the children will go into andragogy. And from there, some of the children will go into heutagogy. That is, from the children where they are given teaching facility, they go into teacher as a teacher, facilitator to a guide. That is, there is a transition in the children asking the question, to the children thinking on the question, to the children giving the response. The children are reading, learning, studying from the syllabus given, to where they do a sort of small research. From there, they go on to their own inquiring mind. Now the base is going to be the analysis, not even application. From analyzing everything, that's why children do ask everybody, why we are supposed to celebrate this festival in this way only? Why are we supposed to salute the national flag? It is our responsibility to inform them. It is not that pedagogy is going to die off and we are going to reskill the teachers, upskill them into a different gogy and all the gojis are coming into picture. Could be. But we are slowly hand-holding, we have been hand-holding the children from one level. We are pushing them into the second level. From there, just as we have separated ourselves from our parents, the children also should move away from the teacher to learn on their own. That is what is futuristic education. See, after having learned so much, we did not forget ABCD, or neither we are allowed not to learn ABCD. We are just thinking more on how to do it better. There should be a time when the teacher thinks that the classroom board, blackboard, is the brain of the child. Whatever she writes on the board is how the child engraves in the mind. That's how the child should note down, and that's how the child should write a neat handwriting also. When the child is, it is necessary to write down minutes of the meeting, necessary to write down whatever the child wants to write, because the child engraves. Otherwise, the only tap, 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 tap will be there in the brain. However, futuristic it is there. From the student asking the teacher to the student exploring by himself, this journey is very important. Even now, some of us don't know, but still we are also doing that kind of heutagogical, heuristic techniques at school. But how confidently we are allowing the children to fail, how confidently we are inculcating that scientific temperament in the child. It is not science temperament, it's a logical thinking temperament, the critical thinking temperament which we have to discuss with the child. Assessment comes into picture, that is not in the arena of futuristic education.
Yes, that's not
it is an assessment is totally a different topic, I feel.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, last word.
So I'll slightly take a different tangent because Madam and Shravya has already spoken about in classroom. But I would like to zoom out a little bit and talk about the system at large. So what I've been noticing is the current system is being built to serve the needs of the elite society. But what's missing is the inclusion. So how do we contextualize the same things for the children in remote schools, for children whose parents lack education? So in such a context, what kind of classroom settings should exist? I think there needs to be a lot of research on making our education more inclusive so that the children from the most marginalized backgrounds also get benefited and they also come out of, and they also get the benefits of the education that we're talking about. That's something that I'm envisioning. I think there will be a lot of scope for research in the decades to come on how do we develop contextualized solutions for different strata of the society. Which is the missing link so far. I think a lot of philanthropic money is also flowing to bring about research in those specific aspects. And I think that's going to be a very, very critical journey that India will go through, I think, in the decade to come, so that we'll become a more equitable society.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Before I conclude, I just want each one of you to give one or two examples that my futuristic school will be like this. Your schools, how will those schools be in the future? So, what is that you would like to do to make your schools really where that futuristic education is a possibility? Quickly.
There will be a complete research-oriented project-based learning so that the children be on their own and answer to all. Now this is the stage of artificial intelligence. Future, we can't even imagine. They should be able to only do research and we are supposed to assess them on a different angle.
Thank you, ma'am.
The futuristic school I envision is where teachers and students together figure out what they want to do in the classroom.
Great, excellent, wonderful.
Okay. So the futuristic school that I look at is students having more agency. How it reflects as schools become innovation centers, schools become parliaments, schools become United Nations and stuff, wherein everything, we can see everything in action, not in books.
Not the present type of parliaments. Okay. Then, so thank you so much, all the three of you. Lovely participation. From my side, before I conclude, a couple of my observations. I think it was very amazing to listen to all the three experts in the field of education. I think to me, because I saw generations of learners 4 decades ago, 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago, and 1 decade ago. Now I've been seeing all these things. there is a metamorphosis of education. The way it is taught, the way it's learned. Though initially the pace was very gradual, now it's picking up across. There's no exception that this is a countryside, you can't have that. It's infectious that now the quality benchmarking is happening across. That's a good sign. Number two, I think any futuristic education cannot be a possibility if there is no democratization of the functioning of the school. Fabric of the school, structure of the school, design of the school policies, where you design your vision and mission through inclusion. Your vision of the school and mission of the school should be decided by the children, by the teachers, by the parents. I have done that, I'm telling you. We worked for it 15 days with principals, with directors, with children, with teachers, with parents. Finally, it became like a big compendium. From that, we rolled out one vision with about 15 words, 14, 15 words, and mission statement. It's very clearly there. So I think that kind of inclusion will be part and parcel and integral to futuristic educational spectrum, number one. Number two, as Madam said, autonomy at all levels. We are all scared of giving freedom to people. Give freedom, things are spoiled. No. With my experience, I'm telling, there are 20%, 80-20 principle is there. There are some people who don't understand what real freedom is. But all the educational thinkers, philosophers, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Sri Aurobindo talked about, everyone you can take, any from the West, from the East, Eastern philosophy on education, they all say that snatch freedom from the child, then ruin the child. You are ruining the child. You are ruining even an adult also. If a teacher today cannot express her feelings very fearlessly to in front of a board or before a board, then I think the teacher will never be able to do proper service to the kid. This is point number two. Point number three, these students are so brilliant nowadays. I'm very honest to say that our intellectual capability is not matching that of the children. Please let us admit that, because they are born in a different time. We were born in a different time. So there's a gap. But how to fill the gap? That we need to really choose and decide. And children must be given voice and choice to run their programs. Because Madam talked about Heutagogy. In Heutagogy, child will decide everything. He will decide everything to do this way, that way, this way, that way. You were talking about metacognition. He will be metacognitive in his approaches every time. So that won't be any problem, because when he has that freedom, he will do that. This next point. And these minds are, what you call, they are all called software, the computer, the robotic minds. Madam Anjali Razdan was speaking about. And these are very brilliant. That software, that kind of, the computer literacy, they're very, very, very good at that. AI, Madam was saying, we are bored of listening to AI and other things, but that is going to be part and parcel of that. Simulated learning from real context of life learning. Simulation is okay, but wherever it is real life context learning is possible, please avoid simulated learning. But when real life context learning is not possible, then simulated learning can be relied upon in the schools. That is for sure. The children have been so inquisitive, so innovative. I have seen, experienced, their innovation stopped when the teachers overworked, overtaught. The thinking capacity of the child is taken away, rooted out because of the excessive indulgence of the teacher. That is not acceptable. To the child, not to anyone. To the child, it's not acceptable, because the child would love to listen to his voice, his friends' voices, more than the teacher's voice. More than the teacher's voice. I'm very sorry. They don't want to listen to my voice also, because endlessly. So there the collaboration will set in. This world is full of collaboration. Any futuristic education will demand a complete, total collaborative space in learning, teaching and design everything. This is another point. Then the sociability factor. Now these children will have to fit into the world, which looks very complex nowadays. But they should be able to become world citizens and world-class citizens. And that rooting cannot happen once they go into tertiary education. Whatever has to be done, it has to be rooted right now. And children are amenable to reason. Children are amenable to logic. Children are also amenable to values, provided we don't teach them, but we follow them. If we teach values, they won't accept the value. But if you leave a value, they will definitely make it integral to their own life. So these things, I think, definitely we need not prepare children for jobs. We talk about jobs, no. Jobs will come. Jobs are the byproduct, they are not the essential product. What is making a fine human being out of the child is the important job of a school. That is the most important thing. And job is only one of the byproducts, I think, because when you skill a child, he will get a job. But our education system should move away from the basic cognitive approach, that is knowledge, memory, knowledge, memory, knowledge, memory. If you shift from this to the next level of creativity, to the next level of originality, to the next level of innovation, to the next level of taking decisions, living in freedom, living with that spirit in the school's life. And I think next education or futuristic education has arrived in the country. I hope God will bless all our families, all our schools, all our children. Thank you, Globe India, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. As the adage goes, quantity really doesn't matter. What really matters is the quality. And that is what I can describe for this panel, member of all the panel. By that, we'll end our discussion number 3. And I congratulate all of you the way you all have spoken it with such a ease and with zeal and enthusiasm. Congratulations to all of you. Now I request our guest, Dr. Shrikant Swami, consultant and expert of NAC, to please come down, sir, here, and please give away mementos to our speaker. Can we hear a huge round of applause for sir? Yes. Yes, sir. And sir wanted to add to a couple of words.
Respected teachers and speakers of today's session, I am Dr. Shrikanta Swami. Almost 48 years I've been there in the field of teaching. 1973 I started my career as a teacher. However, my route is in the secondary education only. I think you are our future, in my opinion, you teachers. And your aspirations are our aspirations, and your determination is going to be the future of our bright children. I think hats off to all of you. That's what I wanted to say personally. Then coming to Prasad Rao. Yeah, I think what a good administrator and an academician he is. I wish that, yeah, definitely. I admire you, sir. I wish that many institutions are going to have a person like you. I want you to induce, because as is the administration, so will be the functioning of the school. You said you are a chairman of an organization, is it so? Oh, that's a great statement, sir. That is really nice. And other 3 teachers also here. I think next generation I am going to be their students. Hats off to you, madam. Your assertiveness I really liked. And your scientific way of presenting the information I liked. And your broader vision also I liked, sir. I think this is my real heartfelt words of which I want to just express before I could just hand over the moment to you. Therefore, hats off to all of you. Thank you very much. All the best to you, sir. Now I think this end. Thank you.
Yes, sir. With the appreciation and best wishes, sir, I request for our moderator for the day, Dr. Prasad Rao, founder and CEO of